2023, during the occupation by Russia, became the year of the greatest resistance of the Ukrainian population of the Crimean Peninsula due to Russian aggression. Crimean Tatars began to protest the Kremlin regime more often, single pickets hanging Ukrainian flags, damaging occupation symbols.
We see an increase in the number of pro-Ukrainian protests on the territory of the Ukrainian peninsula. The numbers that we know from the occupation courts are at least 517 cases of administrative liability, and in general there are more cases, but there are decisions already made by the so-called occupation courts, and in fact there were 312 throughout 2023. 4 criminal cases were opened. This is an article about the so-called discrediting of the armed forces of the Russian Federation.
At the same time, with the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the occupation authorities intensified repression against the indigenous population. Today, according to official data, there are 191 political prisoners in Crimea, of which 123 are Crimean Tatars. The Kremlin continues to militarize the peninsula since 2014. 18 conscription campaigns have taken place in Crimea, as a result of which 44,500 residents were forcibly conscripted, of which 5,500 this year.
497 criminal cases against people who are considered alleged evaders of the military service on the territory of the peninsula. 37% were prosecuted after February 24, 2022. As for mobilization, we don't know the exact figures. We are trying to find out through various indirect sources. We also monitor the number of funerals of the peninsula. This applies to those who were mobilized, and this is more than 300 funerals.
Russia not only turned Crimea into a springboard for the war against Ukraine, but also made it a place for detention of civilian prisoners from the newly occupied territories of Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. They say at the representative office of the President of Ukraine in the Autonomous Republic of Crimea. Today the representative office is working on collecting data. Today Ukraine provides all possible support to the Ukrainian population in Russian-occupied Crimea.
After a full-scale invasion, it became relevant to compile sanctions lists of judges who hold our citizens accountable for discrediting the Russian army, as well as persons involved in illegal mobilization in the territory of temporarily occupied Crimea.
We are talking about legal, financial and humanitarian assistance. In 2023, about 600 citizens' requests were processed. The representative office continues diplomatic work at the international level, as well as developing a strategy for the cognitive deoccupation of Crimea. Reported by Serhiy Kulias, Yulia Granovska, UATV News.